Dave Canales made his official debut as the Carolina Panthers' new head coach, and things went about as bad as what you thought they could have went. They lost 47-10 to the Saints, and the Panthers, they look worse in this game than what they did last year, and that's saying something. The defense can't stop the run or the pass. Derek Carr had 3 touchdowns. The Saints had 199 yards on the ground. And the Panthers offense still looks as broken as what it did last year. I've been saying so many good things about Bryce Young this offseason. I was saying how he was going to flourish under this new offense with Dave Canales, how too many people were blaming him for how bad his rookie campaign was when Carolina had a terrible supporting cast. So there are no more excuses for Bryce Young to play the way that he did today against New Orleans. Was unacceptable. You got Deontay Johnson, you got Xavier Legette, you got all these new weapons, but yet anytime somebody was open in the middle of the field, Bryce Young was overthrowing them. And I love Bryce Young. I want him to succeed, but this was a really awful performance that we've seen out of him. And right now, he's looking like one of the biggest busts in NFL history. What happened to the Bryce Young that we all saw at Alabama? Because he carried those Bama teams. Nick Saban, once he left, said that we were too Bryce Young dependent, and he cleaned house with his whole entire coaching staff. And let's not make it seem like Bryce Young was carried by the talent he had around him at Alabama. The only first-round picks he played with was Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams. That was it. So you were expecting a lot out of Bryce Young when Carolina traded up the farm to get him despite his lack of size. Everything that made Bryce Young great as a prospect coming out of Alabama, we haven't seen yet as the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. And it is week 1. There still is a lot of time for Bryce Young to get better, for him to click in Dave Canales' offense. But a 47-10 beatdown to New Orleans is definitely something that you didn't want to see if you were a Panthers fan. And nobody really gave the Panthers a shot to win this game. Most people expected New Orleans to win, but if you thought New Orleans was just going to make Carolina look like they were an FCS team, and you would have thought that this was a FCS versus FBS matchup like what we be seeing in college football when they play these random trash schools and they get blown out by the Alabamas and Georgias of the world. That's how bad Carolina looked this afternoon. Dennis Allen's defense just confused Bryce Young. He had no answers for anything that Dennis Allen was throwing at him. I mean, when he was running around and he was able to get outside the pocket, he showed that he looks more athletic than what he did last year. I was really impressed with how agile he looked with the ball in his hands. Maybe they need to run him a lot more. Even though he is small, he is a lot better of a runner than what you would think. He's not Kyler Murray fast, but he is shifty. Maybe get some RPOs going, get some design quarterback runs or some zone reads going with Bryce Young. But you got to do something to get this brother playing at a serviceable level, because he has a new coaching staff, a new supporting cast, and he still looks bad. I'm not writing him off after this week 1 performance, but I definitely am more skeptical than I am optimistic when it comes to Bryce Young, man. Maybe the Carolina Panthers did make a truly awful decision drafting him over C.J. Stroud. Hopefully he can turn it around next week